Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
A very good evening. Welcome to Primetime News. I'm Katharina Chang, live from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. Let's take a look at your headlines. Tear gas and water cannons used to disperse protesting university students at Colombo Fort. Pakistani national who smuggled 36 kilograms of heroin into Sri Lanka in construction-grade bolts arrested. UPFA Southern Provincial Council candidate D.V. Uppal accuses Beliat the police of bias.
මම දැක්කේ බෙලියත් පොලිසියට ගිනියවි තියන් ප්‍රසිද්ධියේ පහර දෙද්දි බෙලියත් පොලිසිය බලාගෙන හිටියා.
Father Praveen Maheshan and Ruki Fernando released from TID custody. Newsfirst, the brief, Sri Lanka's first made for YouTube news bulletin launched in Colombo. Let's now join our Newsfirst news studios live for the details of these stories and much more.
Thanks so much, Kathy, and welcome to the news. I'm Abushka Balasuriya.
And I'm Nicola D'Zoiza. Let's start off with our top story for tonight. Police used tear gas and water cannons to disperse a group of protesting university students in the Colombo Fort area this afternoon. The protest had been organized on the basis of several demands, including a solution to problems surrounding student accommodation at the Kelaniya University.
The university students commenced the demonstration near the Kelaniya University at about 9:30 this morning. The students blocked one of the lanes of the Colombo Kandy Road. This caused severe traffic congestion on the stretch of road from Kelaniya to Colombo.
The Inter-University Students' Federation of the Kelaniya University commenced a protest march against the suppression of students and the selling of education. This was organized together with the participation of the university students across the country. This is because there needs to be solutions for the issues that have arisen within the education system and the university system. On one hand, universities are being privatized and degrees are being sold. They are bringing in new laws that benefit the private universities and are destroying the school system. When we are struggling against this, they are suppressing the students. We commenced this march to urge that immediate action be taken against this.
The police said that an injunction order was obtained from the Mahara Magistrates Court prohibiting the demonstration and preventing the students from staging a protest march in a manner that would inconvenience the public. However, following the demonstration near the university, the students arrived at the Colombo Fort area via Paliagoda and the Technical Junction in Matara. The police had deployed barricades on the road near the Sambuddha Loka Vihara in Fort to prevent the procession from proceeding further. The police used water cannons and tear gas in Fort at about 3:45 this afternoon to disperse the protesters. The police say these steps are taken as the students had approached the high security zone surrounding the presidential secretariat. The students then arrived at the Lotus Junction in Fort and then dispersed.
Father Praveen Maheshan and Ruki Fernando, who were arrested by the Police Terrorism Investigation Division, were released today. Police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rona said the duo were arrested under the provisions of the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
The police media spokesperson added that a woman suspected of aiding and abetting an individual who had recently fired on police officers when they attempted to arrest him in Kilinochchi was also taken into custody several days ago. The woman's 13-year-old daughter was handed over to the care of probation and child care services after being produced in the magistrates' court. The police media spokesperson added that Father Praveen Maheshan and Ruki Fernando were arrested as part of investigations into this incident.
ඔවුන් විසින් මේ රටේ ජාතික ආරක්ෂාවට ඒ වගේම ජාතීන් අතර අසමගිය ඇති වෙන ආකාරයට යම් ප්‍රකාශ.
It was reported that they had issued statements that would create disharmony among communities and threaten national security. This is why they were arrested under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. They were brought to Colombo and were detained here for 2 days. They were interrogated at length. They were produced in court yesterday and they were subsequently released. Nevertheless, we are continuing with investigations into the truth of their statements and the facts contained in their statements.
ආශවල සඳහන් කරුණු වල නිවැරදිතාවය ඒ වගේම ඔවුන් ප්‍රකාශ කර ඇති කරුණු මේවා සම්බන්ධයෙන් තවදුරටත් විශේෂයෙන්ම පරීක්ෂා කරනවා.
Meanwhile, a group of civil activists gathered opposite the Fort Railway station this afternoon and protested against the detention of the two individuals.
Human rights activists in Sri Lanka are under serious threat today. This is completely wrong. If there is democracy in this country, it must be shown in practice. Today, in practice, they are showing that human rights activists have no security. We ask the government at this instance to immediately guarantee the safety of human rights activists.
The matter was also brought up at a media briefing in Colombo today.
මේ විභූෂිකා දැරියත් ඒ වගේ ජයකුමාරී මහත්මියත් අම්මා සහ දුව.
Two prominent human rights activists in our country, Ruki Fernando and Father Praveen, who were arrested when they went to look into the injustice that had been done to the mother and daughter Jayakumari and Vidushika, were released at about 3:30 this morning. We do not know why they were arrested. We do not know why they have been freed. The government has nothing in order to make an official statement. We know what happened.
ඇයි ගත්ත කියලා දන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඒ නිදස් කල්ක දන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඒක නිලවසෙන් කියන දාන්න මොනවත් නැහැ. අපි අපිට දන්නා මොකද උනේ කියලා.
Views were also expressed on the arrest at a meeting held last evening at the 25th regular session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva.
Human Rights Watch calls for the unconditional release of Ruki Fernando and Father Praveen in Sri Lanka. We condemn the fact that as the Council increases its scrutiny of Sri Lanka's human rights records, the attacks against civil society actors in Sri Lanka by the authorities has intensified.
Due to the military occupation, there is no safety for women and girls. Rape and sexual violence happens regularly. Even as I speak here today, two prominent human rights activists, Father Reverend Praveen and Ruki Fernando, who went to the Kilnachi to voice the rights of the Tamil mother and her daughter, have been put under the arrest by the Sri Lankan state and the Notorious Prevention of Terrorism Act. I again speak as a mother and representative of Tamil mother back home. We want our children back.
Investigations have revealed that KP Selvanagam, alias Gobi, who had been overseas and returned to Sri Lanka, was actively involved in reviving the LTT through regrouping LTT cadre and recruiting unemployed local youth. The intention of these operatives had been to recover arms cache hidden by the LTTE, and a lead obtained on the whereabouts of Gobi. A team of police officers proceeded to the residence of Balendra and Jayakumari in Kilinochi. During the search operation, Gopi had fired at the police, injuring a sub-inspector and escaped. Since suspect Gopi, while being armed, escaped, a search was carried out on the said residence. A Meneleb F3 type mine detector was recovered. Therefore, Ms. Jayakumari was placed under arrest on suspicion of aiding and abetting Gopi in his activities. As Balendra and Jayakumari had been unable to provide an appropriate caregiver to keep her 13-year-old daughter, she was taken along with the mother and produced before the Kilinochi magistrate. Based on the magistrate's order, Vibhushika had been placed under the care of probation and child care services. The aforementioned arrest was made under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. The ICRC has access to all detainees being held at Busa. Therefore, it is regrettable that an elected member of the Northern Provincial Council, Ms. Anandi Shasitaran, has chosen to misrepresent this case in this august body.
Meanwhile, the issue of minority rights in Sri Lanka was brought up at the UN Human Rights Council session in Geneva today.
We are alarmed at the increasing violence and hate speech against the Muslims and Christian groups in Sri Lanka. The state has failed to properly investigate and take action against the perpetrators. We also endorse the recommendations of the forum and hope an effective action plan will be put in place by all stakeholders to give meaning to these deliberations.
We are seeking to address these challenges in line with the National Plan of Action for the implementation of the recommendations of the LLRC, as well as to address grievances and grant redress to those whose rights have been violated on ethnic or religious grounds. In addition to the provisions of the Penal Code, the ICCPR Act No. 56 of 2007 criminalizes advocating religious hatred that constitutes incitement to discrimination, hostility or violence. These are only a few of the many initiatives that we have taken to promote rights of minorities in Sri Lanka. We will continue to foster the rights of minorities, including religious minorities, as an integral part of the ongoing national reconciliation process.
Now, in the meantime, these views were expressed at a media briefing organized by the United People's Freedom Alliance in Colombo today.
එතන යම් යම් දේවල් තිබුණා සොයා බැලීමට අවශ්‍ය දේවල්. ඒ කියන්නේ ආරක්ෂාව පිළිබඳ කිසිම අවධානයකට මේ රටේ ජනතාව ලක් කිරීමට අපේ රටේ සූදානම් නැහැ. එතන යම්
There were several things that we had to look into. Our government is not prepared to compromise on the safety of the people in our country. Questions arose when weapons were found there, and there were concerns about how the weapons came to be there and who were involved. That is why the investigation into this has been proposed. But most importantly, as a government, it is a most unpleasant and difficult task to remember all the details of providing safety measures to the nation. We cannot put our people through that danger, so we are not prepared to endanger the people of this country by being afraid of the proposals brought forward in Geneva.
පිළිබඳ කිසිම අවධානයකට අපේ රට ලක් කිරීම වගකීමෙන් තොර ප්‍රතිපත්තිය කිසිසේත් අපි ඒක කරන්න සූදානම් නැහැ.
You're watching News First, and up next is Action TV.
The views of the opposition and the government on human rights and the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission were expressed in Parliament yesterday. The issue came up when the matter of increasing the fuel allowance granted to the President of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission was taken up for debate. However, this letter, dated the 4th of December, notes that steps were taken to grant the President of the Human Rights Commission an increased fuel allowance even before approval was sought. This letter, addressed by the Secretary to the President of the Human Rights Commission, not only confirms the payment of an increased fuel allowance, but also expresses appreciation of the service rendered by the Commission, notwithstanding several administrative weaknesses and weaknesses in serving the public.
Commission Sabava. The
work carried out by the Commission must be appreciated. There are petitions which have been referred to other institutions. There are petitions on which advice was issued. Petitions on pending cases in court have been submitted to this Commission. There are even petitions that were not relevant to the subject. This is the vast scope of the categories of petitions that have been submitted. When analysing the recent activity of the Human Rights Commission, it is evident that there is another category of petitions which the Chief Government Whip did not mention. These petitions can be classified as those which fail to draw the attention of the Commission in spite of the contagious enthusiasm of the petitioner. This group of people arrived at the Human Rights Commission today since a petition submitted by them on the 20th of December too has been classified as belonging to this category of petitions. The petition seeks that the Commission call on the relevant authorities to divulge the number of students who displayed exceptional talent at the 2012 Year 5 Scholarship Examination and were enrolled to the 36 popular schools in the country, and recommend that the same number of students be enrolled from 2013 as well. When the petition was taken up on the 10th of January, the principal of Ananda College, Colombo, revealed that only 160 students were enrolled to his school this year, in comparison with the usual 225 that are enrolled based on marks received at the scholarship examination. He added that another class could be established if the Commission recommends it. The recommendation of the Human Rights Commission on that day was that inquiries would be made from the principals of other schools to ascertain if the same problem prevailed, and that a report would be submitted by the Ministry of Education. But today the Human Rights Commission is saying that such a report was not submitted by the Ministry of Education. So we ask if we are the ones who are supposed to seek an answer to the question posed by the Human Rights Commission to the Ministry of Education. The Human Rights Commission is not the mediation board you get in the villages, is it? The time granted by the Commission to the Ministry of Education to submit the said report expired on the 15th of this month. The Commission's decision to grant time until the 15th of March for the Ministry to submit such a report, being fully aware that the first term of school ends on the 15th of April, is highly questionable.
Now still to come on the news tonight. Ukrainian troops move towards Crimea and the Russian border. And the search for flight MH370 extends to an area the size of Australia.
Newsfirst, Sri Lanka's premier independent news provider, took a leap into the future today and launched Sri Lanka's first ever made-for-YouTube news bulletin in collaboration with Google. The made-for-YouTube news bulletin titled The Brief was launched at a unique program for business leaders today.
Robert Van Allen, the renowned speaker and thought leader who has transformed the growth of major organizations worldwide, conducted a program on growth and beyond for business leaders in Sri Lanka. Newsfirst, Sri Lanka's #1 news provider and leading innovator in the field of communication, in collaboration with Google, launched the Made for You YouTube news bulletin, The Brief, at the event.
And that starts with you. So what is your genre of excellence? Because as you become a leader in an organization, you're going to have to figure that one out.
The event was organized by Newsfirst together with the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants.
A lot of people may not be aware, YouTube traffic peaks at the same time as the normal TV prime time happens. That is actually an indication that a lot of people, what we call, take their smartphones and mobile devices and use it as what we call couch companions. And yes, the TV becomes a passive device and the more engagement tends to happen on YouTube, looking at information and looking at videos, catching up on it. So the world is moving into a more of a, how can we pull information when we want it, when we have the time, more than being able to reserve our time to watch something.
The Capital Maharaj organization, which owns and operates Newsfirst, is no stranger to innovation and doing things differently. Whatever the industry, across several industries, be it media and communications, pharmaceuticals, tea, and even infrastructure and FMCG, we've changed the game over the past 75 years. You want to watch news and consume our product when you want it, wherever you want it, and that's where we want to lead the industry.
And Robert Van Allen did the honors.
Newsfirst is the leader that pioneered this first. So on the count of 3, we're going to launch this, and I need your help. 1, 2, 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is a historic day for all of us. Look around you. All of you probably has a smartphone like this or a smart device.
If I get late just 5 minutes, I've missed the best part of the news. So in other words, I have to be programmed to be there. So your thought of being available when I'm free, I think is great.
Now moving into one of our headline-making stories, the Pakistani national who attempted to smuggle 36 kilograms of heroin into the country by concealing it inside iron nails has been taken into custody. The police stated that his representative in Sri Lanka, a top-ranking drug smuggler, has also been arrested.
According to the police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rohana, the Pakistani national was arrested in Kandy, and after questioning he divulged information that enabled the arrest of the Sri Lankan drug smuggler. The heroin, which was concealed inside iron nails and hidden inside luggage, was taken into custody on the 5th of this month.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa extended his best wishes in Parliament today to Senior Minister Ratnasiri Wickramanayake, who commemorates the 54th anniversary of his political career today. The President, who attended the select committee meetings of the Ministries of Finance and Defence, entered the chamber and wished Senior Minister Ratnasiri Wickramanayake.
විශේෂයෙන්ම අපේ රත්නසිරි වික්‍රමනායක එතුමාගෙන් ප්‍රශ්න අහපු හින්දා වෙලාව මත මතක් වුණේ.
Since questions were posed to Minister Ratnasiri Wickramanayake, I remembered that it was on the 19th of March 1960 that he first entered Parliament.
මුලින්ම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ආවේ. ඉතින් අද වෙනකොට අවුරුදු 54ක් වෙනවා අපි.
Today marks 54 years since the senior most member and minister in our Parliament entered Parliament, and we extend our best wishes to him.
අපි මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපේ සුබ පැතුම් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී පුද කරමු.
එතුමාගේ චරිතය ගැන
I need not say anything new about his character. It is a character suited to Parliament. I know how he as Prime Minister faced all the questions that were posed to him.
ඒ ප්‍රශ්න වලට මුහුණ දීලා විසඳුව හැටි මම දන්නවා.
The chair too would like to extend its best wishes at this time.
China has deployed ships to search new areas for the missing Malaysia Airlines plane, as Thailand said its radars may have tracked the flight shortly after it lost contact. China has sent 9 ships to waters southeast of the Bay of Bengal and west of Indonesia.
Teams from 26 countries are trying to find flight MH370 which went missing on the 8th of March with 239 people on board. The entire search area is now roughly the size of Australia. Malaysia says the plane, which was flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, was intentionally diverted and could have flown on either a northern or southern arc from its last known position in the Malacca Straits. Investigators are looking into the possibility that the aircraft crew or other individuals on the plane were involved in its disappearance. The Chinese vessel set off from Singapore early today to search an area of around 300,000 square kilometers. The ships would focus on waters near Sumatra away from regions being searched by other countries. Australia is leading efforts along the southern arc in the Indian Ocean. However, the Australian Maritime Safety Authority said today that neither military aircraft deployed on the search nor merchant ships transiting through the area had seen anything in connection to the aircraft. In another development, police in the Maldives are investigating reports that residents saw a low-flying airplane above Kutahuado Island the day the plane vanished. Many leads and sightings of possible debris pursued so far have proven not to be linked to the plane. The entire search area is now 2.24 million square nautical miles.
Churchill lost to Clement Attlee, who was the Labour leader who was part of the wartime patriotic cabinet, the coalition.
What exactly brought Ukraine to this pass?
Well, you had an elected president,
Viktor Yanukovych,
who was more than a little clumsy about the way he went about things.
Where do you see this whole thing going? Is this going to end up in an opposition in shambles come presidential election and a clean sweep for the UPFA again?
I think the problem here is not the presidential system. It's the fact that there is such a steamroller majority in the parliament.
Welcome back to the news. Now moving back into some local news, UPFA Hambantara district candidate and former Southern Provincial Council Minister D.V. Uppul, who was arrested in connection with a case of assault, was released on police bail today. The police said that he was released this morning. D.V. Uppul was arrested by the police last morning on charges of assaulting a group of campaigners of fellow UPFA Southern Provincial Council candidate M.K. Kasun in the Madagoda area in Puwakdanda Beliyatta.
පෙරදා දිනේ රාත්‍රී 10 මාට විතර මට දුරකථන ඇමතුමක් ලැබුණා. බෙලියත්ත ප්‍රාදේශ සභා මන්ත්‍රී කැලුම් මන්තුමාගේ ගෙදරට පහර දෙනවා. කැලුම් මන්තුමාගේ ගෙදරට
I received a phone call at about 10:30 in the night the day before yesterday. They said that the house of Beliyatta Pradeshia Sabha member Kalum was being attacked and that officers were being damaged. I was in Walasmulla at the time. I arrived at the location at about 2 a.m. When I went there, I was told that two groups, our group and theirs, was fighting and that the injured had been taken to hospital. I talked with them and then came home. At about 8:30 last morning, the acting OIC of the Beliyatta police called me and said that a complaint had been lodged against me and that I should come to the police station. The officer in charge of the division told me the same thing, and since I had done no wrong, I turned myself in. After I turned myself in, the Beliyatta police did not carry out their duty as they were supposed to. There were about 10 others with me. They sent the other 10 out and they were assaulted with intent. I saw that officers of the Beliyatta police, who were even armed with firearms, simply looked on.
එතන මම දැක්කේ බෙලියත්තේ පොලිසියට ගිනියවි තියන් ප්‍රසිද්ධියේ පහර දෙද්දි බෙලියත්ත පොලිසිය බලාගෙන හිටියා.
Let's take a look at some of the views expressed on the election stage.
මම ගියා පෙරේද 30කට බට්ටු විට.
I went to Batuita in Tihagoda the day before yesterday. I asked if anything had been distributed in this area. I believe a minister's wife or someone like that had come there and distributed shampoo bottles among the children. These are bottles of papaya shampoo. When this was taken home, some people thought it was papaya juice because of the color and drank it. Luckily, family members gave them coconut milk and induced vomiting.
දැන් ඡන්ද කාලේ ලං වෙනකොට එක එක සෙල්ලම් තියෙනවා. එක එක ජිල්මාට් එනවා. අහන්න ඡන්ද කාලේ හරි සෙල්ලම් බඩු මල්ලක් අතින් අරන් ඔන්න එනවා මහතෙන් දැන් අපි අහුවෙයෝ වටනං බඩට කණ්ඩ නැතිව ගියා පිටපොත්තට ඇලී ගියා අපි රට ගැන හිතන අතරේ බඩු මිල ඉහළටම ගියා රොකට් එකක් දැයි තුනා
මේ සන්දාන රජය කොළඹ ජනතාවට සලකන්නේ ඔවුන්ගේ හතුරන් හැටියට.
This alliance government treats people from Colombo like their enemies. They chase them away from their houses. They do not give jobs to the youth and have distanced development from this area. They are bringing commercialism here and are depriving these people of their traditional homes. Therefore, we will continue with this fight on behalf of the people of Slave Island. We will give them back the homes they have lost. We will give them back the jobs they have lost. We will commence this fight from Slave Island and will continue until we are victorious.
එය ජයග්‍රහණය දක්වාම ගෙනියනවා කියන එක අපි පැහැදිලිව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න ඕනේ.
මේ ඉන්න පක්ෂේ නායකයා මැටියෙන් අමලා හරි පූසවල්ලන්න පුළුවන් සයිස් එකේ බඩු.
Even today, people have come over to the SLFB. Us SLFPers, for who call the SLFP home, are a little jealous. At times, I wonder whether it is Dhanasiri Amaratunga or Dhanasiri Rajapaksa. The president cannot go on the road at night. They come home to eat biryani. If Mr. Gotabaya comes this way, they will try to sneak into the house. I have been evicted from the vice chairmanship of the United National Party. Some people called me Rajapaksa Hevayalage Imtiaz Bakir Makar. I was not angered by this. I listened to all of this with patience. I am not angry. I stand with a principle, not with an individual. But if some people have the mentality that it is wrong to point out mistakes where you see them, then it is a crime they are committing against this party. When mistakes and weaknesses are pointed out, understand them and fix them.
දරුදි පෙන්නනකොට දුර්ලකම් පෙන්නනකොට ඒවා තේරුම් ගන්න. ඒවා හදා ගන්න.
ඔක්කොම දූෂිත වැඩ කරන්නේ දේශපාලනඥයෝ. රජයේ ඡන්දය දෙන දේශපාලනඥයෝ. I
went to court yesterday and stood on the bench. We responded to a false case that had been filed against us. On the other side of the bench, the thugs from Tangol were seated. Those who murdered a tourist and raped a tourist were seated on the other side of the bench.
සංචාරක ස්ත්‍රී දූෂණය කරපු උන් ටික ඒ බම්බුවේ මගේ එහා පැත්තේ ඉන්නවා. මට ඒ වෙලේ නම් හිතුණා පොරව පලාගෙන යටට යන්න කියලා.
Now, in the meantime, candidate for the Gampaha district of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Susara Dinal, organised a rally in the Heenatian area in Katana.
The rally was held in his hometown. A group including parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa and the Chief Minister of the North-Western Province were present at the rally.
මේ ශේෂ්ත්‍රයට නායකයෝ උමනා වෙලා තියෙන වෙලාවක්. ඒ විතරක් නෙවෙයි නිර්මාණ.
This is a time where we are in need of leaders in this field. We also need creative people. We need good and wise people. Susara Dinal came at a time where each voter casting their vote in favor of the betel leaf wanted a man who was wise, a man who loved his people, a man who was humane, and a man who can guarantee he won't commit any wrong.
වැරදි වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා සහතිකයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් මිනිහෙක්. ඌමනා වෙලා තියෙන වෙලාවක තමයි සුසාර දිනාල් අපේ නීතිඥතුමා මේ දේශපාලනයට එන්නේ.
මාධ්‍ය ශාස්ත්‍රය තුල මට කිසියම් කාර්යභාරයක් කෙටි කාලකින් කරන්නට ලැබුණා නම් මම අද ආරම්භ කරන
Even though I was in media for a short period of time, I believe I did a lot for the people. And in my political career that I am starting now, I hope to do even more for the people. I pledge this before you all. It is vital that the field of politics have gentlemen who are wise, educated and disciplined.
බුද්ධිමතුන්ගේ සදාචාර සම්පන්න මිනිස්සුන්ගේ වැදගත් මිනිස්සුන්ගේ වේදිකාවක් බවට පත්වීම ඉතාමත් වැදගත් වෙනවා.
සුසාර දිනාල් තරුණයෙක් උගතෙක් අපේ හාමුදුරේ නීතිඥයෙක් ඒ වගේ මාධ්‍ය ශාස්ත්‍රය තුල
Susara Dinal is a youth, a wise man and a lawyer, and he did so much good for the people while still engaged in the field of media. And with that experience and the knowledge he gained about politics, he has entered this campaign. Therefore, we as young parliamentarians are very happy. We wish you well and we hope that the youth will be protected in politics.
විශ්වාස කරනවා. මේ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ අපේ දෙමව්පියෝ ජනතාව ඒ තරුණයන්ව දේශපාලනය තුල ආරක්ෂා කරන්න කටයුතු කරනවා කියලා.
Parliamentarian Sajid Premadasa expressed these views regarding the benefits to the people through the Mathala Airport project at a rally held in the Kivula North area in Ambalanthota.
We earn only a little money for this country from the Mathala Airport. So I would like to ask this question. Is borrowing millions and constructing this airport more important than providing food for the people in the district? Which is more important? They celebrate the 100th anniversary of air travel with great pompous display for nothing.
Welcome back to the news. The trade fair and carnival in celebration of the 125th anniversary of the Walasmula National School commenced today. Newsfirst is the media sponsor for the event. The trade fair and carnival was organised by the staff members of the school to raise funds for the school sports ground. The fair and carnival includes several exhibits from school children and also features a stall from the Ministry of Defence. A show featuring Sri Lanka Air Force K9s also added to the festivities of the trade fair, which commenced today.
2 bus halts which were constructed in Colombo with funds allocated through the decentralised funds provided by Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayake were destroyed day before yesterday. They were reconstructed with the assistance from the Colombo Municipal Council today.
These are some of the bus halts constructed with the use of decentralised funds of Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayake. This is the manner in which the roof of the bus halt was removed the following day. The Mayor of the Colombo Municipal Council, A.J.M. Muzammil, convening a media briefing on the 14th of this month, said that when a program is already in place to create such halls, others cannot simply interfere in order to gain political mileage. However, the manner in which the bus halls were being reconstructed was witnessed today. When we inquired about this matter from the Mayor, A.J.M. Muzammil, he said that the opening of these bus halls will take place this Friday. However, we witnessed some bus halls which included images of politicians in certain areas.
Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayake, who witnessed this news item when it aired on the 7 o'clock news bulletin on our sister channel Sirasa TV, contacted Newsfirst and said that he would make clarifications on this matter tomorrow.
Now moving to some more local news, the leader of the National Unity Front, Azad Saleh, shared his views about Minister Rauf Hakim at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
At the election that day, when he was the leader of the TNA, he stated that they, including the 7 ministers, don't want to be the chief minister. He said that we can have it for the next 5 years and that we can appoint the other 2 ministers ourselves. Then he sold the other 7 ministers after having lost that opportunity. Now with the other 7 ministers in the government, Minister Hakim is dreaming if he thinks that he can topple this council. He has now informed the government that if the chief minister is not appointed from the Muslim Congress Party, then by August 2014, I will go and take it along with the TNA. As you can see with the elections just around the corner, he wears the prayer cap. Or he says his prayers without it as well.
Now moving to some sports news, let's start off with cricket. The West Indies clinched a 33-run win over Sri Lanka in a warm-up match of the World T20 in Mirpur earlier today. Batting first, the West Indies posted a total of 172 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. Opener Dwayne Smith top scored with 60, while Dwayne Bravo contributed 43. Rangana Herath bagged 2 wickets for Sri Lanka, while Ajantha Mendis, Sikuge Prasanna and Suranga Lakmal bagged a wicket each.
Forward call into the stands. That's how strong he is. Stand and deliver. Not the biggest of bounds.
Is it? Kumar Thalmasina says out. It looked close. Now there's a fielder there, and he should take the catch. It's a long part of the ground, but he's all too. It's
Chasing 173 runs for victory, Sri Lanka suffered an early blow and went on to lose wickets at regular intervals and were eventually bundled out for 139. Tilakaratna Dilshan top scored for Sri Lanka with 43. Sunil Narayan bagged 4 wickets for the West Indies, while Dwayne Bravo picked up 3 wickets.
Come back to that, it's a full toss.
Well, oh, and another one. Bowled him and came back and struck down Sri Lanka with their full might.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Primetime News. As always, I'm Madhushka Balasurya.
And I'm Nicola D'Souza. Thank you for joining us. Take care and good night.
Good night.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.